everyone, welcome back to the Salesforce Apex course. So in today's video we are finally starting actual programming concepts. Okay, so in this video we will going to learn about variables, data types, and why they are important in programming. Okay, so let's quickly open our developer console. Okay, and then debug and open execute anonymous window. Okay, so now what is variables? Okay, so variables in any programming language, okay, is a container used to store data. Okay, think of it like in kitchen we have different containers for different items. Okay, in one container we have stored salt, in another container there is sugar. Okay, so similarly in programming, programmers or we developers use variables to store information or the data. Okay, okay, so what is variable? So variable is a container to store data. Okay, so now how we create variable? Okay, so first of all let's see variable declaration. Okay, how do we declare a variable? Okay, so now I have written integer, okay, age and semicolon. Okay, so this is, we call it variable declaration. Here we haven't given any value of age. Okay, we have created a age variable in which we are storing a integer data type. Okay, so now let's see what is data type. Okay, so data type. Okay, so data type tells the system that what kind of data we want to store. So here when you see age, okay, so what kind of data age will store? It will store number. Okay, so to store number we have an integer data type. Okay, so what is data type? So data type tells system that what kind of data we want to store in variable. Okay, so what kind of information we want to store in a variable. For example, I want to store name. Okay, I want to store my name. So to store a name, it is a text value. Okay, whether name or city or address, it is a text value. Okay, it is a characters we want to store. So to store the text value, we use a string data type. Okay, string name and semicolon. So here we are declaring a variable, which means we are not assigning it any value. Okay, we have simply declared variable integer age, and we haven't assigned any value like age 21 or 20. Okay, so we call it as a variable declaration. Okay, so when we do this, like string city equals to, like we have stored Mumbai. Okay, so now here what we are doing is we are creating a variable which is named as city. Okay, and we are storing string type in this variable, and the value is Mumbai. Okay, this equals sign, we call it as assignment. Okay, and it means we are storing a value inside the variable, like we are storing this value inside this variable city. Okay, so we call it as variable declaration and initialization. Okay, here we are creating a variable named city, and which is of a string data type, and we have stored some value in it which is Mumbai. Okay, so we call it as variable declaration and initialization. Okay, so now let's see what different kind of data types we have. Okay, so in Apex we have different types of data types. So first one is primitive data type. Okay, primitive data type. Then we have second one is collections, and then we have third type is S objects. Okay, so in this video we are in this video we will see only primitive data types. Okay, in next videos we will discuss other two types. Okay, so under primitive data types we have integer, okay, decimal, we have string, id, boolean, Okay, then we have date time, okay, etc. Okay. So in primitive data type we have all these data type. Okay, okay, so let's check out these data types one by one. Okay, so first we have integer data type. Okay, so the integer data type is used to store the whole numbers. For example, if you want to store age, okay, you want to store quantity, or you want to store number of students. Okay, so all these are in number format. Okay, so to store the numbers we use integer. Okay, so now next one is decimal. Okay, so decimal data type is used to store decimal values. For example, 55.4. Okay, this kind of values we store it in a decimal. Next we have a string. Okay, strings are used to store the text values. Okay, and we write it in a single quotes. Okay, in single quotes we write, let's say Aman. Okay, we want to store city, then let's say Bangalore. Okay, okay, so to store the text values we use strings. Next we have a id. Okay, so id data type is used to store record id. Okay, Salesforce record id. Okay, so when you see record in Salesforce, they have a record unique record id. For example, let's check for accounts. Okay, so I have this test account, so it has a record id, this 18 character record id. So to store the record id we use id data type. How we create it? Okay, we say id, let's say account id is the variable name, and we are assigning it value as this. Okay, so to store the record id we use the id data type. Okay. Here we cannot give any random value like this. Okay, it will only store the record id which is in Salesforce. Okay, if you store any random value it will give the error. Let's check it. Okay, let's print this id, System.debug, and let's print this account id. Okay, so let me tell you one more thing, that I want to execute only these two particular lines. Okay, so I will select these two lines and I will click on execute highlighted, then only this two line of code will be executed, right? I hope you understood. Okay, so let's see the results. Okay, here you can see we have got the like a record id got like printed. Okay, so now let's give it any random value. Okay, I have given it this random value, and now I am highlighting these lines and execute it. Okay, here you can see system.string exception invalid id. Okay, so it will not accept any random value, it will accept only Salesforce record id. Okay, so next we have a Boolean data type. Okay, so Boolean data type stores two values, which is true or false. Okay, true or false. Let's say we have a create a boolean variable. Okay, boolean is like can vote. Okay, can vote, and I am giving it value as true. Okay, so here what we are doing is we are checking that if the user is 18 plus, or okay, then he can vote, which means can vote is true. Or if the user is less than 18 years, then we can give it as false, as the user is less than 18 years, he cannot vote. Okay, right? So the Boolean data type stores the true and false. Okay, so these are the the primitive data types. Okay, so you can get more information about primitive data types in the Salesforce developer docs documentation. You can just write, if you want any information, you can just write the topic name and like search it as a topic name plus Salesforce. Okay, so you will see this URL developer.salesforce.com. Okay, so here you will get every information about this. So let's say we are studying about primitive data types, right? So here you can see all the primitive data types available. Okay, all these are the primitive data types. Okay, so let's see date data type. Okay, so date data type is used to store the date. Okay, if you want to store only date, then you will use date data type. Or if you want to store date and time, then you will use date and time data type, right? So these are the primitive data types. Here you can also see like here double. So double is also used to store the decimal values, and long is used like if the like it does not include the decimal points. Okay, if long values have minimum value of minus 2 raised to power 63 and a maximum value of 2 raised to power 63 minus 1. Okay, use this data type when you need a range of values wider than the range provided by integer. Okay, so integer has some range. Okay, it can store from this to, minimum value of this to this value. If you want to store more than this, so you will use the long data type, right? So that's all about the data type, primitive data type. So in next video we will see the collections. So now practice the primitive data types, declare the variable, then initialize some value to the variable, and then print it in the logs. Okay, right? So thanks for watching video. I will see you in the next video.